Today on the newscast, the U.S. sends bunker-busting bombs to the Middle East in a message to Iran. Plus, Israel strikes in Syria. Get all the breaking details next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. We begin this week with a bit of important news from over the weekend that you need to know about. In case you missed it, Israel reportedly carried out airstrikes against Iranian and Hezbollah assets in the Syrian city of Homs, not far from the Lebanon border. Now, Homs is the third largest city in Syria, and reportedly, early Saturday morning, Israeli fighter jets struck a military airport there, a Hezbollah weapons depot as well. Reportedly, an Iranian cargo plane arrived last week at that airport, and it certainly wasn't carrying flowers, folks. We've documented here in the newscast over the past few months how the Iranian regime has taken advantage of that horrific earthquake that struck Turkey and northwestern Syria back in February to send cargo planes filled with weaponry under the guise of earthquake aid. Was this latest cargo plane arrival in Homs another case of that? Hard to say. Israel has not commented on these strikes from over the weekend. That's really Israel's MO in these instances. What we do know, and what we have documented here for you on the newscast repeatedly over the past several months, really the past few years, is that Israel has carried out hundreds, in the high hundreds at least at this point, of airstrikes against Iran and Hezbollah and their various jihadi allies in Syria over the past few years. Speaking of which, we want to talk about a very important visit, important in all the wrong ways, by Iran's foreign minister to southern Lebanon last Friday, literally on the Lebanon-Israel border overlooking Israel, and also the U.S. sending a message to Iran, but should this message be taken seriously considering the current occupants of the White House? We're going to break that down in a minute. Before I do, if you have not subscribed to the Watchman News channel right here on YouTube, hey, give us a subscribe, click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. Folks, as you can tell, things are developing at such a rapid clip in the world's most strategic and chaotic region right now that you are not going to want to miss a single newscast. We're coming to you every day, Monday through Friday, and many times on the weekend, depending on the news cycle. And as you can tell, the news cycle when it comes to the Middle East and geopolitical global affairs is very busy right now because we live in Bible times. Folks, these are prophetic times. So let's get to this visit from Iran's foreign minister, Hossein Amir Abdollahian. He was in southern Lebanon last Friday, April 28th, meeting with Lebanese and Hezbollah officials. And folks, as I mentioned, he paid a visit to the Lebanon-Israel border. Now, if you watch The Watchman on a regular basis, you know I've been to that border many times on the Israeli side, of course. It's a beautiful area, but behind all the lush scenery in southern Lebanon along that Israel border lurks Hezbollah. It's a region where Hezbollah fighters literally use civilian homes to stockpile rockets, missiles, and various sorts of weaponry to be used against the world's one and only Jewish state. It is a Hezbollah stronghold, so it's really no surprise that Abdollahian paid a visit there and made threats as he overlooked northern Israel from the Lebanon side of that border. And I'm paraphrasing here, but folks, you get the idea. You've heard it before from Iran's leaders, saying that the Zionist entity is about to come to an end, that the Zionist entity is in trouble, etc., etc. Now, what is important, you might say, well, we've heard it all before from Iran's leaders. Yes, but what's important about this is that one of the top leaders in the Iranian regime, their top diplomat, their foreign minister, was bold enough to overlook Israel on the Lebanon side of the border. Folks, clearly, the Iranian regime sees, number one, a weakened U.S., more on that in a minute, and number two, internal division inside of Israel, these continued protests in the streets of Israel, obviously a nation divided in many ways right now, and Iran and its proxies, Israel's enemies, are salivating at the thought of taking advantage of a divided Israel. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu, the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, other top Israeli leaders have said repeatedly in recent weeks, look, yes, there is internal division right now. We're having a massive dispute and debate over the prospect of judicial reform in Israel, but that does not mean that we aren't prepared to deal with external threats. Well, we may find out soon, folks, because Iran and its proxies, again, they smell weakness and vulnerability, and they are pushing right now and probing. And Abdullahian's visit to the Israel-Lebanon border was just another sign of that, in my view. Iran attempting to project strength. Is the U.S., as we move on here, also attempting to project strength? Now the U.S. is sending bunker-busting bombs to the Middle East, to Iran's backyard. They're going to equip A-10 Warthog aircraft with these 250-pound bunker-busting bombs. Now, reportedly, these bombs will come in handy in any airstrikes against Iran's various proxies and militias in Iraq and Syria. But, folks, you have to think the larger message here is a threat to Iran's nuclear weapons program. Clearly, as we've documented here in the newscast, Iran's nuclear program, it's not like 1981 when Israel struck that lone nuclear reactor in Iraq. It's not even like 2007, similar situation. Israel struck and destroyed Bashar al-Assad's reactor in Syria. Today, Iran, which is a vast country, by the way, geographically, has spread these nuclear facilities throughout the country, and many of them are buried deep underground. These are fortified bunker-type structures, so tough to get to, clearly, and that's where bunker-busting bombs, powerful bombs, obviously come in. Now, if the current administration in the U.S. had any real teeth, you would say, wow, this is very serious. But the Iranian regime, I believe, is seeing this as they don't like it, clearly, to have U.S. bunker busters in their backyard, but the Iranian regime has taken the measure of the Biden administration, and I don't believe the mullahs in Tehran feel that the U.S. will take any significant sort of military action against Iran's nuclear program. You might say, what are you talking about? They're sending bunker-busting bombs there. Yes, folks, but at the same time, the Biden administration is also reportedly looking to revive that Iran nuclear deal, which would be an absolute disaster and which is really the epitome of appeasement when it comes to the Iranian regime. So Iran is saying they're not really going to do anything. Look, they want to deal with us at all costs. They want to gift wrap us, talking about the current administration here in the U.S., they want to gift wrap us with billions of dollars in sanctions relief. They're not going to strike. Why do you think Iran felt so bold last month in directing a drone attack against a U.S. base in Syria that left one U.S. civilian, a contractor, killed and wounded 6 U.S. soldiers? Why do you think that the Iranian regime has carried out some 78 such attacks since Joe Biden took office in January 2021? Why? Because they don't fear any sort of serious American reprisal. Yes, the Biden administration did react on 3 of those instances, carrying out airstrikes along the Iraq-Syria border, but 3 out of 78, folks, do the math. And not only that, clearly those airstrikes were not enough to deter the Iranian regime, which, oh, by the way, also just seized a fuel tanker last week that was bound for the state of Texas right here in the United States. The Iranian regime seized it in the Gulf of Oman and is basically holding it hostage right now. So clearly, the Iranian regime isn't backing off or feeling intimidated. Quite the opposite. It's feeling more bold. But a last point here, perhaps the Biden administration would not take any sort of military action against Iran. I believe that is the case. But Israel is another story entirely. And if the Iranian regime believes that Israel is just too distracted right now internally to take any sort of significant action against Iran's nuclear program, I believe they're sadly mistaken. Folks, stay tuned. Keep it all in prayer. Tumultuous times for sure. But as we mentioned earlier, Bible times, no doubt. So be encouraged, because God Almighty still sits on the throne, even as all this madness is unfolding here on the ground. A quick programming note before we go. Live stream. We'll be back with you live this Wednesday, May 3rd, right here on the newscast between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So join us live for a solid hour and bring your questions for our Q&A session. It's going to be good. Until tomorrow, thanks so much for joining us here on the Watchman Newscast. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.